What's up, guys? Welcome to Matrix Sessions. My name is Brian Matrix, and let's get into this beat. Now I'll introduce you to this cool plugin that we're going to use here. It's a good friend of mine's, Bassclough. He did this really cool plugin called Washout. Now, a lot of times in these breaks, right, especially with build-ups like this, you hear this sort of sense of like a swoosh happening, right? So it's just everything's thinning out. What is the DJ doing? He's doing this maneuver, he's on the mic, make noise, right? He's pumping you up because it's about to go down. So there's a couple of ways we can do that, and I've seen so many techniques done, but what my man did, he killed it. It's the most simplest macro that we can find. It's actually online as well, and it'll be included in this project as well, along with the fills and my effects. Again, this is from my private stash, so you can definitely put them to work, and you'll see how it just gives you the sort of amp to your music. Now with Washup, it's a macro within a macro, right? One thing moves, the other one's moving, and the other one's moving. So if I open it up, he has a couple of things happening. He has grand delay, auto filter, reverb, EQ, filter, and a compressor. So basically what happens is when I move the one knob is altering, as you can see here, it's moving all these things around for me. Look at my EQ, look at my filter, all these things are doing something different, right? And what's cool about this is that it gives me that sense of like when you're DJing. You're on the 900, you're in the DJs, here comes you start washing it out, here comes that, you thin it out, and then drop. You could also use Steve Duda's filter, which he also replicated a 900 Pioneer, and it gives you that great effect. But in this one, we're gonna use this for now. I have so much on this track, and I really wanna do like these cool things that the grand delay is adding to it, right? So let's go ahead and do this now. So I'm gonna go ahead and put an envelope here, and another one close to here. Now let's figure this out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this up, right? I'm going at eye level now, guys. Remember, it's not, you could do two ways. I can map it to my controller and do like if I was to be DJing, yes, that's one. But I'm a little stubborn and I like kind of like to pencil it in. So again, you have those kind of two people. People that like to touch the stuff and people that like to do manually. So I fall into the manually category. So let's start this. Now what I'm gonna do is if I hit Option anywhere on this sort of ramp up here on this automation, it allows this sort of curve to happen, so I can curve my automation, right? So again, I'm gonna pretend that I'm DJing, and then I'm gonna loop this section until I feel that it's correct. So I'm gonna start it from here. So hearing this effect, and I'm gonna be sarcastic right now so you can really hear what it does. Washout means exactly that. You're just wiping it all out, thin. So when that drop comes in, it's like, this is what I was talking about, right? So not only did we do the ARP stuff, right? It gave me that cool sort of effect with the ARP and just kind of push and pull, let's make the effect happen. But now with Washout, it's really just kind of sealing the deal for me. So let me be sarcastic here. What I mean, what the Washout will do, it's just going to completely wash everything. Of course, that's not what we're looking for. So I think the first time around I had it just right, where it's like washing out, but you can still hear the vocal and then the fill kind of do its thing, right? So let's go ahead and play it. Let's talk about this really nice plugin here. It's a company called Audio Assault, and this guy here is just lovely, guys. You definitely got to play with this. If you feel like your bass is lacking a little bit of energy, this is your guy. Saying this, let's turn it off just so you can hear what the magic is really happening, what he's doing. That's on, off. So here I got that very lowy, nice and full range. There are times where I do want the full and I do want the mid, right? So now let me go ahead and put this on with the top bass, which is this. Nice and thin, right? Got treble, some mid highs, and I made sure I took some of that low end off, so for us to literally plant this nice bottom to it. So now if I go ahead and just solo both, let's hear both together. See, so now you got this sort of still 12 o'clock dirt main stage, but you can still open with the track, right? It gives you this sort of balance. Now, there's a cool technique as well. I'll show you real quick on the low end that I want to talk to you about. It's just this compressor sort of line that I have. For sure, we got to bring in a piano. Let's maybe say a simple, minor to major, nothing too difficult. And I want to show you a piano that I made using Nexus 2, and it's actually quite simple. So let's take out my MIDI again. Let's go look for that. Perfect. Now, what I did here was I pretty much have this sort of set up already where the piano is something I did, prior, right? Again, it's the same bass, it's the bass line itself. Again, here on my notes, right? So I'm going to talk to you about something pretty interesting you can do, and some of you might know this, some of you might not. But in Nexus 2, I been going through some of the libraries, tweaking them. So remember, just real quick to elaborate, Nexus 2 is not a synthesizer. It's what we call a ROM synth. It's based out of samples. So this is why it's pricey. It takes a bit to load, right? It's not like Silent or Serum where you can only tweak so much, right? So whoever made the actual bank or the preset itself, he added the reverb, he added the EQ, he added some nice compression and just gave you that thing. So it's kind of cool to dabble with this and kind of, stay into it because there's a lot of great sounds here. And Nexus 2, for those guys trying to just get that sound right away, I mean, this is your guy. It just has that right flavor to it. So what I did here was, check this out, guys. If you go into lay mode, which is the layer mode, I'm gonna go ahead and just bypass these two things here. And so what these is what would be oscillators for us on a synthesizer, right? So their oscillators are just these knobs here. It's just, you turn them off and they're actual samples. So this oscillator 2 stood, which is their lay for 2. If I hit play, now there's a certain tone that I like to that, but watch this trick. So now if I turn oscillator 1, as you can see, there's multiple sound sources in here. And again, look, whoever made this has a sort of distortion and a stereo enhancer. So this is what I did, is there's, in this middle bracket here, these are your transpositions. So if I bring it back, everybody 0, check how this sounds. It's cool, nothing too fancy. But watch, I just, again, the theory kicks in, what if, right? So it doesn't hurt to try, because if I don't like it, I could easily just, Command Z and call it a day. So let me show you what I did to this oscillator. I brought it up to 3. Trying to get a sort of a tone on top. The second oscillator, we brought to 7. Not bad. Last oscillator, I brought it up to 10. Now this sort of minor major thing happening, right? Watch what happens when I lay the bass tone you first heard on it. Now let's go to the last oscillator. And all I did on the last oscillator is, let me turn that on. Let me just bypass these two because I want you to hear how it sounds like. You got that very Chicago-y, housey, stabby sort of feel, right? And same thing, I just put it on 3 and 7. So this is what you call a minor. And so adding that, and the last that I did, the 3, 7, 10. Now what's cool about that, guys, is that if I come to the chords, when I used to start melodies first, I used to start, all kinds of things first. But then I got to a point where I found the formula, and the formula happens when you get comfortable in how you work, right? So, for instance, my mentors would tell me, Brian, it shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes to try to fix or try to do whatever it is you're doing. So if you time yourself and you see that you're spending more than 10 minutes on that, you need to go somewhere else because in 10 minutes it should have happened. So now my rule is more on the 3-minute mark. That's just me. It depends on the levels of production you have on you that, some guys like to definitely take their time. I know a lot of guys that say, hey, Brian, I like to spend, 2 hours on my kick. I mean, hallelujah. I don't think the girl in the festival is going to come up to you and be like, oh my God, your track, I can totally hear that you spend 2 hours on that kick drum. I mean, you find the right sounds and you work with it. Something Steve Duda tells me, and he's told me many times, is when you buy these packs, go through them. There's 200 kicks. You don't need 200 kicks. Why don't you finalize the 10 that you like, right? So you start first 20, then 10, and then 5. But again, it's preference. So now I have my right stuff that when I'm doing a big room, progressive, house, minimal, techno, I already know I have my folder techno, house, groove, WTF folders. You know what that means? Sometimes I want to experiment and see what happens.